So I'm back with my review for the book that I was doing a while back actually. Haven't gotten around to doing it because time. Um, so this was the one I read from my TBR, and this was on my TBR for a while. This is Before the Rains by Dinah Jefferies. And like I said, this one is set in the 1930s, I believe, and it's in British India. So the story goes on with a girl who grew up in India while her father was working there, and then she moved away from India and came back as an adult after like a failed marriage. Her husband died. Her marriage was failing, but because her husband died, she moved back to India, where she meets the very charismatic, very many layers prince of a fake city, which I'm not going to pronounce. And his name is Jay. And obviously they hit it off. They've got a lot of chemistry. They start out as friends, but somewhere in the book they start feeling like these things between themselves, and the story blossoms from there. It's very like towards the end of it, I will say it's a little unrealistic because you don't find very often that a prince from India will be settling for someone that's not of an aristocratic background, that's not offering a dowry, those kinds of things back in the day especially. So very modern. But also this book touched on a lot of things that were prevalent in British India at the time, or I'm just going to call it India because not a fan of colonization. But this book talked about what was wrong with the societal beliefs and what was wrong with the way like rituals and beliefs that held on, like people held on to at the time. And this happens, I don't think what I'm about to talk about happens right now, but I know there's things in a similar scale. So this particular one that I read was page 106 or 105, and I could not, like I read it in the cafe and I could not stop crying because it was what you call a sati, and this is where a widow who has outlived her husband, and it is seen as a sin or a crime, or it's dishonorable in the religion at the time, is forced into fire. She's burned alive, and the book covered on like what it was like to see it, to not be able to stop it, the feelings of it afterwards, which were close to you can see the woman start like burning from feet up, and then she touched on like the smell of it, how it lingers on her clothes, in her hair. And at that point I was like, damn, that's tough. Because while women might not be burned alive presently, women are tortured still in a lot of East Asian or Asian cultures because of their ability to, like, if they do outlive their husbands, it's not easy being a woman in these kinds of cultures where you're seen as the inferior sex, you're seen as just a reproductive bag and a way to expand power because you have no rights, you have no voice, you are just a pawn. And like it spoke in the book as well, like marriages back in the day they weren't arranged based on love, they were arranged based on necessity and how to expand power and to see what is the most advantageous marriage. So this book actually, it had a lot of things that were hard for me to read, but it's important that we do read it, things like this, because most of the world, they don't know that these kinds of things happen. I'm pretty sure these kinds of things happen in communities where it still hasn't been modernized, and there's still like they don't follow modern law, and they stick to their traditions and their rituals and their, it's as backward as it is, it's cruel. It's mostly just cruel. And this book is beautiful, like the way she's described some places, and the name eludes me, but it's what you call the Venice of India, and I looked up on the pictures online, and it's actually beautiful. She talked about how like the monsoon season comes, it refreshes the earth, it revitalizes everything, and she spoke on the beauty of India during colonization, and stunning. I 100% recommend this book. This is Before the Rains by Dinah Jefferies. It's a very heavy read, very difficult topics to absorb, and yeah. But if you do ever, like, I want to read her other book, The Tea Planter's Wife. I want to get that one. Couldn't find it in the bookstore, so it's on my TBR for October. So that is Dinah Jefferies' Before the Rains, a very recommended book by me. Yeah, it was it didn't leave a good taste in your mouth. Like, it was nice, it was romantic, but the bigger issues really make it hard to settle down, and you need to like stop, take a breath, and start again, because it's heavy. Beautiful though. So once I finished that, I needed something a little lighter, and I didn't want to read, like, my other book obviously that I got was The Pearl Sister by Lucinda Riley, and I was like, I knew that was going to be a bit of a heavy topic as well, so I didn't want to. So instead, I ran out to the bookstore as soon as I got my pay deposited, and I got this one, and this is Dance Upon the Air by Nora Roberts. And if anyone knows, Nora Roberts is the author for women's romance. There is no one that comes close to Nora Roberts when it comes to classic, steamy, damsel in distress romance. But what I loved about this book was it had a lot of family oriented stuff, like the dynamics between siblings. It also had real friendships, like community uplifting. It was an easy read, super easy, as Nora Roberts always is, and just cute, you know? Like, you really get to like the personalities of everyone in the book, except for the person that was crazy and tried to kill the girl, as usual. But the friendship and the girls really did it for me. That was pretty cool. So this is, I didn't realize this book was so old. This was actually written in 2001. So they were talking about fax machines. I was like, what do you mean fax machines? When? Yeah, fax machines. So this is a series of 3. So this is book 1. I've got book 2 and book 3 if I want to carry on with it. And it's called Face the Fire, Heaven and Earth. So maybe I'll add one of them to my TBR. I'm not in a rush to read it, but yeah, classic Nora Roberts does Dance Upon the Air. And of course, that wasn't on my TBR, but I ran again and I got something else that was on my TBR, and this one. It's The Winter Garden by Kristen Hanna, and if you know Kristen Hanna, she's the author of The Nightingale, a book I really, really, really love. I absolutely adore that book, and I've heard a lot of good things about this book in general. And again, it's set in the 1940s. It's supposed to be about community, it's supposed to be about love, family. So I'm really excited to starting this, but I've actually started The Pearl Sister by Lucinda Riley, so I'm going to wait to finish this one. And I'm guessing this can be part of the haul. So now I've got September haul has been The Winter Garden, Kristen Hanna, Dance Upon the Air by Nora Roberts, Before the Rains by Dinah Jefferies, and My Pearl Sister by Lucinda Riley. So not bad for only buying 2 books at the start of the month. That brings my reading count quite high for this particular month, but we've also had a lot of public holidays, so that's that for now. And I'm excited to read The Pearl Sister. I'm reading, like, I've read a few pages of it, and so far I know that she's from Australia, like her heritage is from Australia. She's got an Aboriginal background, and obviously, like, when I lived in Australia, I know what the odds against the Aboriginal community is, how much they've been neglected, how much trauma they've been through, how little opportunities they have to further themselves, and that's a lot to do, once again, with colonization. Unfortunately, a lot of people under the impression that colonization leaves people better than they were. It's not the case. A lot of communities, a lot of the native inhabitants are left a lot worse than they do, and it never really goes away. I think our country, like Sri Lanka, is still healing from colonization as well. I know India definitely is. Australian communities don't have the chance to rise up. It's very rare to see Aboriginal people in high places. I think we have one Aboriginal descent in the Australian Parliament, which is fantastic, but there's a limit that they've been given, and it's very cruel because, after all, that is their land. So this one, I have a feeling is going, like The Pearl Sister, I have a feeling it's going to have a bit of a heavy story, so I want to take it slow. That's why I refresh myself with Nora Roberts after reading Before the Rains, one trauma at a time. So I'll let you guys know how this one goes on The Pearl Sister, and I'm excited to make my TBR for October because I've got a few books that I didn't get to take this time, and that was Once Upon a Day in December. I think that was the only one, so we'll see. Oh, and Woman on Fire. They wasn't in the bookstore I went to. But yeah, that's my review for this week. I'll be back with my TBR sometime next week. Yeah. Bye.